Hello, everyone out there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the class, guys. Hi, Shreyash. Hi, Tarun. Hi, Shreyash. I hope you all are doing great. Welcome to the class. I will wait for 10 seconds more, 10 to 15 seconds before we set the ball rolling. Let the others join quickly. Wherever you are, please join the class quickly as soon as possible. Hi, Sandeep. How are you? Hello. कैसे हैं सब लोग? All right, so let us start the session. We will start at a slow pace to begin with, and gradually we will work on speed and we will gather speed slowly. Only 15 days left, Sreyash. Absolutely right. So, how are you preparing and how are you all working out these 15 days? I think you should be putting your best foot forward. IPMAT is around the corner. So, without any further ado, welcome all to the class. My name is Pradip Sengupta, and I welcome all of you to BYJU'S Exam Prep, India's premier online test prep platform, both in the PG and the UG segment. And today we are going to be having a very important topic, a very exciting topic on verbal logic. As you can see, this is the agenda. We will discuss Verbal Logic Crasher Part 2, and this is our second installment in the series. And the name of the series, as you can see, it is Last Lap to IPMAT 2022. All right. So far, 11 of you are present in the class. That's a good start. I hope the others will join subsequently. So please call all of your friends, whoever preparing for IPMAT, today's session is going to be very exciting. So let us set the agenda, right? What is going to be the session all about and why this session? What is the agenda? So as you can see, this is yet another practice session on various question patterns on verbal logic topics. We call them VL topics, and we will be taking up few questions on verbal logic, and we will see how these questions are to be looked at and then finally how to solve them, right? Then we will also see what are the topics that we are going to cover today and in the upcoming sessions. What are the topics that have already been covered so that you can have a look at it. If you can see, in my previous class, that was Verbal Logic Crasher 1, we covered extensively virtually all the concepts of syllogisms. Most of you face problem in syllogisms. So I covered virtually everything that was needed to be discussed in syllogisms. Also, we talked a lot about logical consistency questions. So these were the two topics that we covered. Oh, thank you, Manas. No, there are many available. I'm just trying to help you people with the questions. Thank you, anyways, for your kind and loving words. Hi, Yugal. Good afternoon, dear. So, this is what we are going to cover in today's class and the next class. All right. So, what are the topics that we are going to talk about? We will talk about cause and effect questions. Right? कारण क्या है, प्रभाव क्या है? Cause and effect questions we'll talk about. We'll also talk about course of action questions. These are the topics which we will cover, right? Today and in the next class. So this will help you understand the types of questions which you really need to practice for IPMAT. All right. We'll also take up questions on strong and weak arguments and statement, assumption, and conclusion questions. This is what we will be talking about in the upcoming sessions and, of course, in the session today. All right. Also, we will be talking a lot about reason questions and assertion questions. How to, reason out and how to make emphasis, how to assert on a given point. All right. And let's talk about today's session. What are the areas that we are going to touch base in today's session and how the class will look like? This is what we are going to be talking about today, right? So we will try and discuss first of all the concepts of cause and effect questions, how the questions will look like, and what are the kinds of possible options that we will look at, which options to negate and which options to go for in the cause and effect section. This is one area that we will cover. Also, we will be talking about a very important area of verbal logic, that is course of action. Well, before I start off, my friends, let me tell you one thing very, very clearly. These are not English questions. These are primarily questions which are based on logic, right? And logic is nothing but common sense, right? And this is basically what we lack. We don't apply common sense because common sense is not commonly found in common people, and that's why people are common. Okay, this is what the saying is. So it will be a lot of common sense questions. So primarily, what should be the focus? The focus is to understand the information given. The focus is to understand what is the data, what does the data tell us, right? हम अपना दिमाग बिल्कुल भी नहीं लगाएंगे. इट इज वेरी प्रेशियस. इसको एकदम संभाल के रखेंगे. वी आर गोइंग टू वर्क ऑन द डेटा. जो डेटा हमारे पास है, वी आर गोइंग टू वर्क आउट ऑन द डेटा एंड ट्राई टू ब्रिंग होम द राइट काइंड ऑफ आंसर. Also, we will be talking about strong and weak statements. So these are the three basic components of today's class: cause and effect, course of action, and strong and weak statements. इसके ऊपर हम थोड़ा सा बात करेंगे. Hi Akansha, good afternoon. Shreyansh, statement and conclusion will be taken up. Of course, it's a very, very important question set, but it will be taken up in my next class. I will take it up, but in my next class. Today, we are going to see cause and effect, course of action, and strong and weak statement. I hope that the agenda is clear to all of you. Let us talk about cause and effect. Okay, it is just like the fire and smoke equation. Okay, it is just like fire and smoke equation. There is no smoke without fire, right? So if the cause is fire, the effect will have to be smoke. We cannot say fire and water. Although we can say fire and ash, but ash is secondary. Fire may or may not cause ash, but fire will definitely cause smoke. So there has to be a cause for an effect. Okay, there has to be a cause for an effect. So how to answer these questions, that we will look at in the due course of time. Hi Akansha, good afternoon. All right, so these are some of the things which you have to keep in mind. First of all, you will have two statements given to you. You will have a case, okay, and then you will have two statements. It says insert a therefore before both the statements one by one. As I told you, fire and smoke. Fire and smoke. So can we say fire, therefore smoke? Is it possible? Or smoke, therefore fire? Right? I think the first one follows, the second one doesn't. There has to be a cause for an effect. So the idea is to insert therefore in the statement to find out whether we are talking about the cause or an effect. All right? Then we have to find out if the logical cause and effect relationship between the two statements. What is the logical cause? Okay, is there a logical cause or not? We have to find out. Okay, let me see if I can yeah, So if there is a logical cause and effect relationship between the two statements, and the cause should be either sufficient or necessary for the effect to take place. This is something which is very important over here to understand. Is the cause necessary? Is the cause heavy enough for the effect to take place? If the cause is not sufficient, if the cause is not heavy enough, then it may not be, sufficient for an effect. So these are the two judgmental questions which you have to answer before you drive home your conclusion. So remember these 4 pointers for cause and effect, statements. Okay. Now, can we look at a few questions to understand the perspective of cause and effect questions? All right. How do the questions look like, and what is that we have to understand? Let's look at the very first question, guys. What does it tell you? It says the given statements A and B may be related. They may be related. Read both the statements and decide which of the following answer choices correctly depicts the relationship between these two statements. So, first of all, establish a relationship. A says, deforestation has occurred on a vast scale in Gujarat over the past few decades. All right. Fact. B says, the Supreme Court has decided to ban the felling of trees. Now, felling means cutting. Okay, cutting of trees. Now, let's understand this question and let's put the things in perspective. क्या कहा गया? Deforestation has occurred on a vast scale in Gujarat over the past 2 decades. बहुत पेड़ काटे गए, right? So, deforestation was, and people were cutting trees like anything, right? Forests were cleared off in the name of urbanization and development. And then the second statement tells us the Supreme Court has decided to ban the felling of trees. All right. Now, very easily we can say that deforestation is the cause. Therefore, the Supreme Court has decided to ban the felling of trees. Now, where are you banning the felling of trees? In the forest, in the villages, or in the cities? Cities will not have forests. Okay, the Supreme Court may put a ban on the cutting of trees, but it does not say where the cutting of trees have been banned. Where has it been banned? It does not say so. So, even though we understand that these two are related, but now please understand, if this is the cause and this is the effect, is the cause sufficient for the effect? Or are these two entirely different things? This is something which you have to understand. Okay. These are the options. A says, mark A if statement A is the cause and B is the effect. Mark B if statement B is the cause and A is the effect. C says, mark C if both the statements A and B are independent causes. And D says, mark D if both statements A and B are effects of independent causes. Are effects of independent causes. But easily you can see that the Supreme Court, that is the apex court of India, right, will definitely put a ban if something of this sort happens. The Supreme Court takes cognizance of the matter and the Supreme Court decides, okay, enough is enough, no more deforestation, let's put a ban on the felling of the trees. Now, what should be the answer? That is the question. What should be the answer? Mark your options very carefully before you decide. All right. Let's do the first question together, and the second question we will do, you will answer the question and then I will discuss it with you. Okay. Mudranki says A, Shubhra says D, Sandeep says A, Anki says D, both are effects of some other cause. Okay. That's interesting. Remember, who are at stake? Okay. The environment is at stake. Try to find out what is at stake. This is the question which you have to answer. What is at stake? Our nature is at stake. Deforestation on a vast scale. Can we say, therefore, the Supreme Court, the apex court, has decided to ban the felling of the trees? Well, why at all would you ban the felling of the trees if this is not the reason? So, if you look at the question very carefully, it says mark D if both the statements A and B are the effects of independent causes. Now, as I was telling you, that the temptation to mark A is huge. Why at all, if this is not the case, why at all the Supreme Court will put a ban on the felling of the trees? But we have to understand, where has it been banned? In the forest? In a village? In cities? Or in any other place? Although A looks very, very close. A looks very, very close, but on a broader scale, this is logic. Okay? D, if both the sentences are the effects of independent causes, right? This is, an effect of an independent cause. Deforestation has occurred, right? Maybe because of so many things, right? And B says the Supreme Court has decided to ban the felling of trees. This is also the effect of an independent cause, right? We cannot relate these two things together. That is why D should be the answer, and it was given by Shubhra. Okay, that is the right answer, Shubhra. It is D. All right. So we cannot be personal. We just cannot be personal. We have to look at each and every option very carefully and try to find out what is at stake. Although majority of the students will mark A, which is very, very tempting, but now you know why D should be the answer. All right. Can we look at one more sentence very quickly? Look at this one. A says, all villagers in Ragarpura carry battery-powered torches and bamboo sticks after 5 p.m. B says, there have been frequent instances of chain snatching and looting in Ragarpura in the past 2 years. And these are your options. Here comes the option. Tarun says B. Tarun Sharma. Tarun, okay, B. Tarun 2B. Shubhra B. Sandeep says B. Okay, fantastic answers. Anki Rawat says D. Mudranki says B. All right. Yugal says 2. So let's understand the case. What is the case in hand? The case says all villagers in Ragarpura carry battery-powered torches and bamboo sticks. Now, bamboo sticks over here, consider this can be used as a weapon, right? We cannot consider that all the people of Ragarpura are old. That's why they carry bamboo sticks. No. And look at it. After 5 p.m., after the sun sets, they carry battery-powered torches and bamboo sticks. B says there have been frequent instances of chain snatching and looting in Ragarpura in the past 2 years. Right? This is a specific case in a specific place. Right? It is not generic. a specific case in a specific place. A says, mark A if statement A is the cause and B is the effect. Mark B if statement B is the cause and A is the effect. Mark C if both the statements A and B are independent causes. And D says, mark answer D if both the sentences A and B are effects of independent causes. Okay, since all of you have answered, let us check what the answer actually is. The answer is B. B is the cause. There have been instances of chain snatching and looting. Therefore, all the villagers in Ragarpura, they carry battery powered torches, because assuming there is no electricity in the village, and bamboo sticks as a weapon after 5 p.m. for what? To safeguard themselves, to protect themselves, to actually defend themselves from the robbers and the dacoits. So there is no other reason why they would carry bamboo sticks and battery powered torches after 5 p.m. Right? So this creates a suspicion in the minds of the people. Therefore, you can very, very safely consider that B is the cause and A is the effect. All right? The answer is going to be B. Okay, great answer, all of you. Can we look at one more? All right. All right. A says, Mumbai's Municipal Corporation has decided to build flats for all slum dwellers in the city. B says, Mumbai has seen a sharp increase in the number of immigrants, and these are your options. Mumbai's Municipal Corporation has decided to build flats for all slum dwellers. Mumbai has seen a sharp increase in the number of immigrants. Tarun has keyed in B. Thank you, Tarun. Thank you so much. What about the others? Jaldi se key in kariye apne answers. Shubhra says D. Thank you, Shubhra. Yugal has marked D. Thank you, Yugal. Okay. This means you people are thinking, C, D, D. So that is what happens in verbal logic. It drives you into thinking, very serious thinking. All right. Let us look at the question, guys. The question says, Hi Moviz, बहुत देर बाद आए आप. Good afternoon. आप कैसे हो? मैं तो ठीक हूं. आप कैसे हो? Purvanshu says D. All right. देखो, केस क्या है हमारे सामने? The case is Mumbai's Municipal Corporation has decided to build flats. किसके लिए? For slum dwellers, जो slum में रहते हैं. And the biggest slum in Mumbai, is Dharavi, right? And for slum dwellers, they have decided to build flats. और कहाँ जाएंगे? छोटे छोटे कमरे हैं, so let's give them a flat. Okay, which is a very good move by the Municipal Corporation, Mumbai. And B says Mumbai has seen a sharp increase in the number of immigrants. The people from outside Mumbai, they have started pouring into the city, and there is a sharp increase in the number of immigrants. So क्या हम ये मान लें, can we assume that immigrants are slum dwellers? Is it wise to assume this? Right? So if For cause and effect statement, of course, one cause has to be sufficient for the effect. Because Mumbai has seen an increase in the immigrants, is that the reason why Mumbai Municipal Corporation are building flats for the slum dwellers? Can we assume this? No. Right? No. A says, mark A if statement A is the cause and B is the effect. B says, if B is the cause and A is the effect, दोनों में से एक भी है क्या? Quickly, yes or no? C says, if both the statements are independent causes, and D says, if both statements A and B are effects of independent causes. It seems to me that statement 2 is the cause and 1 is the effect. Movies, read it very carefully there, right? Immigrants and slum dwellers, can we equate them? Immigrant, I for immigrant, slum dwellers, SD for slum dwellers, can they be equated? My answer is no, they cannot be equated. Right? Slum dwellers, दूसरे लोग जो slum में रहते हैं. Immigrants are people who are actually coming to Mumbai from all across India. So we cannot equate these two things, and that is why the answer should be D. Both the statements are the effects of independent causes. Right? बाहर काम नहीं है, मुंबई में काम बहुत ज्यादा है, so there is an increase in the number of immigrants. Right? Slum dwellers बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ गए हैं, we don't have place, they are having a hell of a time in Mumbai. That is why the Mumbai Municipal Corporation has decided to build flats for them. That may be the reason. So two different effects of independent causes. No relationship whatsoever. That is why in this particular question D should be the answer. Easy? Okay. So try to connect the dots. Please try to connect the dots. Connecting the dots are very important in such questions. Alright. So the first three questions was on cause and effect. Now we will talk about the course of action. Now what is course of action? The course of action is like this. I am going to the airport by car. I have a flat tire. Number one, should I take a cab and go to the airport, or should I mend the tire? I can ask my driver to mend the tire and I can take a cab to the airport. This is the right course of action. So course of action means what is the possible solution that you are going to take in order to solve the problem. Okay, so are you a problem solver or not? Right? Through this question, the examiner is trying to find out whether you are a troubleshooter or not. Right? So are you a trouble creator or a troubleshooter? Do you have solution in your mind? Okay? Solutions which are common, solutions which are reasonable. Okay? So this is course of action. Now, points to keep in mind. Okay? You have to solve a given problem. Right? Course of action means problem hai. तुम्हें problem को solve करना है. You have to solve the problem. Alright? Now, do not solve transgenital problems. Means things which are abstract. Things which are abstract. You cannot solve them. Things which are absolutely, out of proportion. They don't, relate to the case. Don't solve transgenital problems. That is one. Next one. Feasible and practical solution. You have to find out solutions which are feasible. You have to find out solutions which are practical. Alright? Okay. Oh, Mudranki, I missed your question. Please explain the option D once again. I'll come back to that question. Give me some time. Also, extreme step nahi lenge. Mohit fails in the examination. The father comes and slaps Mohit left and right. Mohit gets beaten up by his father. Well, that does not make Mohit pass the examination. So no extreme step means no beating, no thrashing, no killing. These are not common sense course of action. All right, will you keep these points in mind? Number one, you have to solve the problem. Number two, don't solve tangential problems. Number three, feasible and practical solution should be there, and no extreme step. Baba, non-violence ke taraf chalo, violent mat ho jao. All right, okay. And no assumptions should be taken. Are aisa hua hoga. This might have been the case. That could have been the case. Ye nahi chalega. You should not assume anything in course of action. We will be assuming questions when we do assumption based questions, but not in course of action. All right. So no assumptions to be taken in this particular question. Okay. Also consider the most important part, the greater good. Your course of action must have a purpose. It should be for the welfare of both the parties. Okay? It should not, be something which is, damaging to somebody. It should be for the greater good. All right? Keep these 6 things in mind, and you will be on song with course of action questions. Okay? Let us now look at a few questions. Okay. Now let's understand the question stem. What is the question stem? The question stem, mobis tangential means something which is, blown out of proportion. The things, the options which does not concern the case. बाहर से आया. हमें case से ही लेना है problems को, बाहर से नहीं लेना. Okay? Something which is tangential. That has to be, avoided. In the question below, a statement is followed by 2 courses of action, numbered 1 and 2. You have to assume everything in the statement to be true, and on the basis of the information given in the statement, decide which of the suggested course of action are logically follows for pursuing. Okay. Movis says I could not understand. Movis, the word actually means if there is a deviation, जो हमारा main topic है, उससे हम deviate करके किसी और point की तरफ चले गए. हमें deviate नहीं होना है, हमें भटकना नहीं है. So that is what the word tangential means. You cannot deviate. Understood? Okay. Let's focus on question number 1, guys. The question says, the new and widely publicized film shows a few members of a minority community in poor life. Okay, A says the film should be sent back to the censor board for a second opinion, and B says the film should be banned. All right, and these are the options. First of all, let's go back to the question once again. The question says the film should be, the new and widely publicized film shows a few members of a minority community in a poor light. A says the film should be sent back to the censor board for a second opinion, and the film should be banned. These are the 2 course of action suggested. And these are the options, guys. A, if only 1 follows. B, if only 2 follows. C, if neither 1 nor 2 follows. Or D, if both 1 and 2 follow. How do you look at it? Shubhra has keyed in A, Tarun has keyed in C, Purvanshu says A, Mobis says A, Mudranki says A. Okay. So there is a very strong opinion that A should be the answer if A follows. Send it back to the censor board for a second opinion. Do you think censor board are unwise people to have released this film without any edits? What do you think? Right? We have, the censor board, the committee is chaired by very experienced people, right? So sending it back to the censor board will actually, create doubts in the mind of the people that what sort of people do we have in the censor board. B says the film should be banned. I have a question over here. Why are you planning to send the film back to the censor board, or you want to ban it? Why do you want to do it? Because the film shows a few members of the minority community in a poor light. Okay? Minority community in a poor light. Now, this minority community can be Christians, can be Buddhist, can be Muslims, can be Jews, can be Jains, so on and so forth. Number one, right? But when you make a film, the film is made with an intent. Okay, so if you are sending the film back to the censor board, then what happens to the director of the film or the entire production, crew of the film, and what happens to your right to expression, right? The Constitution gives us this right, no, right to expression. So this actually violates our right to expression clause, isn't it? The film should be banned. No, this is too extreme a measure that you can take. How can you ban a film, right? Just because of this? Can there be other way out? Yes, we have to think. But can A be a course of action? I don't think so. B can never ever be a course of action. That is why the answer over here should have been C. Neither one follows or two follows. See, please keep your mind open-ended. Think from different angles. Think from different angles, right? X is the father of Y, but Y is not the son of X. It is possible Y may be the daughter, right? We cannot say that the statement is invalid, right? We cannot say that the statement is invalid. Okay, but there are certain reasonable restrictions to under Article 19. Agreed, Movis, but that is too specific an option. What you are referring to, that is very specific, right? And this is not so specific. Okay, just because it shows some minority in dark shade, that is not a valid reason to send the film back to the censor board, right? It is not valid. You have to understand, right? Let's not get into the specifics. I hope this is understood. All right. Yes, so C should have been the answer. Okay. Let's look at this question. This is very interesting. A Supreme Court judge has requested for police protection after unidentified persons called on his residence telephone line and threatened him with dire consequences after he had sent a high-profile politician to prison on corruption charges. All right, A says the judge and his family members should not be allowed to step out of their house. B says telephone call records to the judge's residence should be looked into. These are the options. A, if only one follows. B, if only two follows. C, if neither one or two follows. Or D, if both one and two follows. What should be the answer? Tarun says second follows, sir. Thank you, Tarun. Movis says second follows. All right. Shubhra says C. Thank you, Shubhra. Got it, Movis, got it. You said B, 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 B. Okay, got it, and got it. Movis. Okay, going back to the question once again. It says the Supreme Court judge has requested for police protection. Unidentified persons called on his residence telephone line threatened him with dire consequences. Okay, after he had sent a high-profile politician to prison on corruption charge. Okay. आप जज को धमकी दे रहे हैं. You're threatening the judge, right? So should the judge and his family members should not be allowed to step out of their houses? A judge should not be allowed to step out of their houses. What kind of course of action is this? Just because somebody threatens the judge, will the judge not be allowed to step out of the house? Right? This is an absurd course of action. It does not follow at all. B says telephone calls to the judge's residence should be looked into. This seems to be very, very reasonable. This seems to be very reasonable. So that's why B should be the answer. Right? Look into the matter and take adequate step. This is irrational. This is insensible. Does not make any logic at all. Okay. So A is out. B is the course of action. Okay. All right. One follows Movis. Okay. करा लो. One follow करा लो भाई तुम. Okay. Next question, guys. The city gets flooded and waterlogged even with light to moderate rainfall. For example, Mumbai. The city gets flooded and waterlogged even with light to moderate rainfall. A. The city's municipal committee should set up a committee that will work towards a long-term solution. And B. The city's municipality should allocate more resources for the cleaning of clogged drains. And these are your options. Movis has looked into investigate. I missed that question of yours, Movis. Yes, it is investigate. Alright, Tarun says both follows, means D. Movis says B, if only two follows. Okay. Purvanshu says D. Mudranki says D. Shubhra says D. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. It's a very straightforward question, don't you think? क्या कह रहा है? Light to medium waterfall and there is water logging all around in the city, right? So this is the problem. The first course of action is city's municipal committee should set up a committee that will work towards the long-term solution. Yes, right? We need a long-term solution. We do need a long-term solution. And B says the city's municipality should allocate more resources for the cleaning of clogged drains. Even this sounds viable and valid, right? So both these courses of actions they follow, don't you think? ऊपर वाला भी चाहिए, नीचे वाला भी चाहिए, क्योंकि क्या ये वाटर लॉगिंग को एड्रेस कर रहा है? एब्सोल्युटली. क्या बी वाटर लॉगिंग को एड्रेस कर रहा है? Absolutely. Hence the answer should be D. both 1 and 2 follow. Okay, it was a sitting duck. It was a very easy question. It was Thani. All right. So 6 is clear. Let's look at one more. Right. Now we are into our next segment of questions, strong and weak statements. That's very important. Strong and weak statements. All right, strong and weak statements. Now, what are strong and weak statements? Let's see. You will get a statement, premise, followed by two statements, 1 and 2. तुम्हें सोचना पड़ेगा कौन सा strong है, कौन सा weak है. Number 1, क्या करना है तुम्हें? Is the option answering the question? Right? मतलब जो तुम आंसर कर रहे हो, is that the right option? For example, let me give you an example. If I tell you, the judge sentenced a youth to 5 years rigorous imprisonment for stealing 10 rupees. Right? The judge sentenced a youth to 5 years rigorous imprisonment for stealing 10 rupees. आपने कहा no, since the crime is petty, so this is too harsh a statement, too harsh a sentence. Okay? दूसरा कह रहा है कि no, the judgment is fine. Yes, the judgment is fine because the type of crime committed, whether it is a 10 rupees theft or a 10,000 rupees theft, does not dilute the intensity or the severity of crime. So it is a good sentence given by the judge. इसमें से कौन सा weak है, कौन सा strong है, तुमको ये निकालना है. All right? Whatever your answer is, अपने आप से पूछो, is it relevant? कितना relevant है? Right? कितना ज्यादा relevant है? ये पूछना पड़ेगा आपको. Right? आप जो सोच रहे हैं, क्या आपके पॉइंट को ये सपोर्ट कर रहा है? Yes or no? Right? आपका पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू क्या है? What is your judgment? Right? And then please remember that your answer, whether it is a strong statement or a weak statement, it must be mutually exclusive. Right? One statement must not have an effect on the other. They should be independent of each other. All right. Now, let's look at the questions and then we will answer the, we will try. कोई बात नहीं मूवीज. Strong हो सकते हैं. All right. अब देखो. अब तुम्हारे सामने स्टेटमेंट है, should private schools also implement the learning recovery programs for all the students? Now, what is this learning recovery programs? The learning recovery program is a government initiative to help students recover from learning loss during the pandemic. Good step, isn't it? What is the argument? The argument says, yes, the program includes revision of concepts which will help students fill the learning gap that they suffered during the lockdown. Argument 2 says, no, the program will not be effective for the students of private schools. All right? The program will not be effective for the students of private schools. Now you have a case and you have two arguments, argument 1 and argument 2. I hope you have followed the case. Now let's look at the options. A says, if only one is strong. B says, if only 2 is strong. C says, if both arguments are strong. And D says, if neither argument is strong. What is your answer? Okay. So I have Movis, Tarun, Sneha, Sandeep, Purvanshu and Sandhya going with A. Mudranki has also marked A. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, kids. And let's see if it is A or not. Absolutely right. You are on song. A is the answer. You see, Does it make any sense? Does it hold any water? No, the program will not be effective for the students of private schools. The question is why, right? We must think before we speak, right? Any prediction should not be without reason. Why do you think it is not going to be effective? Because during COVID, the students from both the government schools and the private schools, they suffered equally. So if this kind of program has been launched, it should benefit, the students at large, irrespective of the government school students or the private school students, right? But there is no clear answer, Movis. Why? It does not answer the question why. That is why this cannot be, a strong argument at all. So we will go with A. Okay? That's the answer. Right? हाँ, रीजनिंग पता चलना चाहिए, लेकिन पता लग रहा है क्या? मेरी रीजनिंग तो कुछ भी हो सकती है, आपकी रीजनिंग भी कुछ भी हो सकती है, बट ये क्यों कहा? विल नॉट बी इफेक्टिव. बिना रीजन कैसे बात कर सकते हैं? सो इसमें कोई रीजन है नहीं. दैट इज द रीजन. ओके, चलो. तो कुछ प्राइवेट स्कूल वालों ने ऑनलाइन क्लास ली थी बच्चों की. अच्छा. ओके, चलो आपकी बात भी मान लेते हैं. ऑल राइट. अब ये कह रहा है कि शुड द गवर्नमेंट मेक साइकिल टू ऑफिस मैंडेटरी फॉर दोज लिविंग विद इन अ 5 किलोमीटर रेडियस ऑफ देयर वर्क प्लेस. आर्ग्यूमेंट 1, yes, it's a natural choice for exercise and fitness and the safest option in the present situation of social distancing. 2 says, no, most places in the country do not have proper road and infrastructure such as dedicated cycling lanes, and so cycling in traffic is dangerous. I hope you have understood the question. And these are your options. Moby says mark second, Sandhya says both, means okay. Both arguments are strong. Both are strong. Purvanshu says C. Both are strong. All right. Okay. Sandeep has marked A. Only argument 1 is strong. अच्छा देखो, जब हम ये बेसिक्स देख रहे थे स्ट्रॉन्ग एंड वीक आर्ग्यूमेंट का, लास्ट पॉइंट था इट शुड बी फॉर द ग्रेटर गुड. Isn't it? It should be for the greater good. The statement was, should the government make cycling to office mandatory for those living within 5 kilometers radius of their workplace? All right. A says, yes, it is a natural choice for exercise and fitness and the safest option in the present situation of social distancing. Okay, it has got 3 ticks and this is for the greater good. And if this is made mandatory for people living within 5 kilometers, it will do loads of wonders. Okay, so I think this is definitely a feasible course of action. Argument 2 says no, most places in the country do not have proper roads and infrastructure such as dedicated cycling lanes, and therefore cycling in traffic is too dangerous. Even this is valid. Even this is valid, right? If there are no proper roads, why would you make it mandatory, right? When the intent is okay and the reason is also okay, right? There is no denying to this fact also, and therefore the answer should be C. Both the arguments are strong. You remember A judge sentencing a youth who has stolen 5 rupees to 5 years rigorous imprisonment. 10 rupees, sorry. So, अच्छा किया आपने भेज दिया, क्योंकि theft is theft, whether it is 10 rupees or 10,000 rupees. But sending a youth for a petty theft of 10 rupees, don't you think it is too harsh a statement? Even this is right. So this is also a case of both the arguments being strong. Even eighth one, both the arguments are strong. All right? Okay. So this is how you must think. It is a test of your judgment. Let's look at the ninth question. Should municipal authorities be punished with termination of jobs or suspension for the poor maintenance of roads and public facilities? Argument 1 says, yes, they will not work otherwise. 2, no, but a better system of accountability must be put in place to ensure that the municipal authorities work efficiently. हाँ मूवीज, आर्ग्यूमेंट को क्वेश्चन मत करिए, ये भी ठीक है, ये बहुत सारे बच्चे ऐसा करते हैं मुद्रांक की, अगर एक और आर्ग्यूमेंट होता तो अच्छा आपने, चलो फिर उसका आंसर नहीं देंगे. Let's look at this question and these are your option, guys. Sandeep has keyed in C, Arunima has keyed in B, Purvanshu B, Movis second, Shubhra B, Tarun B, Neha Sarkar says 2, all right. Great. चलो देखते हैं क्वेश्चन क्या था. एक तो ये बात तय है कि म्युनिसिपल अथॉरिटीज, ये लोग एम्प्लॉयड हैं, जॉब में हैं, उनको पनिश कैसे करें विद टर्मिनेशन ऑफ जॉब्स फॉर और सस्पेंशन फॉर द पुअर मेंटेनेंस ऑफ रोड्स एंड पब्लिक फैसिलिटीज. अगर टर्मिनेट करेंगे तो दूसरे लोग हायर करने पड़ेंगे, दैट इज अ लॉन्ग लॉन्ग प्रोसेस. और आपने कहा यस दे विल नॉट वर्क अदरवाइज. डोंट यू थिंक दिस इज एन एक्सट्रीम स्टेप? Okay, it should be for the larger good. Remember that point, for the larger good, and no extreme step, beating, punishing, thrashing, no extreme step. So this is an extreme step, termination of jobs, right? This cannot be a course of action. Okay, you make a system, otherwise a better system of accountability. They should be held responsible for their actions, must be put in place to ensure that the municipal authorities work efficiently. So there has to be a system, and then once you devise a system, plug these people into the system so that they start working, isn't it? But throwing them out or suspending them, it is an instrument of discouragement, right? So this will set a wrong example, and that is why your option should have been only 2 and sorry, not 1. All right, so B should be the answer. Option B is the answer. Understood? Okay, moving on. The next question. Should people stop emigrating to the US in view of the racial violence? US में बहुत ज़्यादा racial violence हो रहा है, इसके चलते should people stop emigrating to the US? What do you think? Argument 1 says, yes, when foreigners, especially Asians, do not go to the US, racial intolerance will decrease and there will be less violence and fewer killings. Whereas argument 2 says, no, we must allow everyone to carry guns and protect themselves. Okay. Let's see. And these are your options. Okay, quite a few options. D, तरुण से सर ये तो वायलेंट हो गया. हाँ भाई वायलेंट तो हो गया. D, 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 D. So many of you have marked B. अब एक बात बताओ. Ignoring the problem cannot solve the problem. They should not go to US. वही तो वो चाह रहे हैं बताओ. Right? Racial intolerance will decrease, but what happens to our opportunity of growth and prosperity? Right? Just by not going to the US does not solve the problem. Also, two wrongs do not make a right, isn't it? So we must allow everyone to carry guns and protect themselves. Okay, that will increase violence, killing and cross killing. It will never solve the problem, and there will be a vicious circle of killing, and there is no coming out from there. Right? So these two arguments, do you think they make any sense? There is no sense in these two arguments, and that is why the answer should have been D. Neither argument is strong. Okay, now this is how you must look at these questions. And most importantly, once we have understood the logic, what is the next step? Go back to verbal logic questions on strong and weak statements, course of action, and reasoning questions, and start solving them. Pick up the previous year questions and start solving them as much as possible. Remember, practice will definitely make you perfect. Okay, memorize the basics that you have learned in the previous class and do practice a lot of verbal logic questions. जितने कर पाओ उतने कम है. करते रहिए and करते रहिए. All right. So that brings us to the end of today's session, but more sessions are upcoming, and this is the information. 20 power packed sessions are on your way, right? 11th of June, we have Ankur sir. 12th of June, we have Gaurav sir on logical reasoning. Okay, 14th of June, again, it's me with you. 15th of June, it's again Gaurav sir with you. And these are the sessions lined up exclusively for IPMAT students. And of course, all those who are planning to write the CUCET exam also and the other exams. All right. Please follow these classes. Don't go anywhere. We are going to bring you best of the best content in the upcoming sessions. Don't forget to join us. This is important. June 26th, right after IPMAT, we are going to go live with you with our first impression and detailed analysis. And on July 2, IPMAT Indore, first impression and detailed analysis will be taken up by our experts. Okay, June 26th, July 2, write it down in your timetable and don't forget to join us. All right, so that's it from our side today. Thank you so very much, guys, for staying with us. Don't forget to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon, and please share it with your friends. And don't forget to tell them that we are there for you. So with all your queries, you may get back to us and talk to us. On that note, a big thank you to all. और ज़्यादा मेहनत करिए, and see you on the other side of the story. So this is Pradip sir signing off today with the promise to see you once again with another exciting session on verbal logic. Thank you, goodbye, and stay blessed.